Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Chillwave ASMR. Once again, I am very excited to be here today to share with you something a little unique to the channel. I've never really done a book list kind of situation or talked about what I'm reading, etc. And so I thought I would do that today. And some of the books that I'm going to present to you, I think will have some pretty good ASMR triggers as well. Firstly, though, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who has been tuning in to 60 days of ASMR. It's actually insane. I think today is day 40, which is totally nuts, totally crazy. So that means we have 20 days left. It also means we are 2/3 through the 60 days saga. It's crazy, but I am so grateful to everyone who has been participating, from watching the videos, to liking, to commenting, to subscribing, and to my channel members. I am eternally grateful, so thank you. I really appreciate you. Guys, I think we should get started. I'm really excited to share with you what is on my next 10 books to read list, and let's see which one makes the best sounds. Are you ready? Let's do this. Alright guys, so I'm going to present these books to you in not exactly maybe the right order. When I'm choosing a book, I kind of try to decide what kind of mood I'm in, what kind of tone I'm looking for, what the situation is that way, and then I choose the next book based on that. Sometimes I don't really get that right, and I'll stop a book and come back to it later. You know, life's a garden. You gotta dig it. Am I right? So the first book is a book I'm reading right now. It's called The Nickel Boys. So, I first found out about The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead after watching the movie, and so it had been recommended to me that I should watch this movie, and I did, and it was amazing. It was super well done. I thought they did such a great job in the way that they shifted the perspective of the story being told throughout the movie, and the POV of the movie is very interesting and dynamic, and I think it's a worthwhile watch for anyone who's interested. I think this book has a lot of heart, and it's very important and telling book from a historical perspective as well. I'll tell you what it's about. Let's have a gander, shall we? So, when Elwood Curtis, a black boy growing up in 1960s Tallahassee, is unfairly sentenced to a juvenile reformatory called the Nickel Academy, he finds himself trapped in a grotesque chamber of horrors. Elwood's only salvation is his friendship with fellow delinquent Turner, which deepens despite Turner's conviction that Elwood is hopelessly naive, that the world is crooked, and that the only way to survive is to scheme and avoid trouble. As life at the Academy becomes ever more perilous, the tension between Elwood's ideals and Turner's skepticism leads to a decision with repercussions that will echo down the decades. So as you can see, I don't know if you can see that very easily. I'm nearly finished the book, and of course I'm using a Pokemon card as a bookmark. We have a Poliwrath. No particular reason for that, but that's the one that I chose. Alright, so that's what I'm reading now. I'm just about finished, and then we'll have to find another book to read. Let's have a look at what's on the list. The next book on the list is Galapagos by Kurt Vonnegut. Ooh, this one's got good tabs. some reason it feels so nostalgic to me. And I somehow have not read Galapagos yet, so I'm really excited to check this one out. Let's give it a gander. Galapagos takes the reader back 1 million years to AD 1986. A simple vacation cruise suddenly becomes an evolutionary journey. Thanks to an apocalypse, a small group of survivors stranded on the Galapagos Islands are about to become the progenitors of the brave, new, and totally different human race. In this inimitable novel, America's master satirist looks at our world and shows us all that is sadly, madly, awry, and all that is worth saving. I've not quite read a Garfunkel novel like this, so I'm really interested to see what kind of journey he takes us on. Helpful if after you see this whole list, maybe you should choose my next book to read. And you know what, if you have any book suggestions for me, I would love that. That would be unreal. I would love that. The next book on the docket is Wool, and this is by Hugh Howey, and this is the first book of 3 as part of the Silo series. Now, I don't know if you've seen the Silo series on Apple TV, but there is a really great show, and I think they just, not long ago, posted up their 2nd season, and I had never read the books, or even heard of the books, or even heard of any of it, and I checked out this series, and it was really good. Like, I loved it. I was, like, really hooked on it. It's kind of set in a futuristic dystopian situation after some, really cataclysmic event, like a nuclear event or something like that, and it takes place within this underground bunker. There's a ton of really interesting themes like conspiracy and action and drama and all kinds of really neat stuff like that, and so if you like that kind of stuff, along with a little bit of adventure, it is worth at least a watch. But the thing is, you guys, they haven't posted up the 3rd season yet, and I need to know what happens. And so, I had to get the books. So I really want to read this first book. I actually do have all 3. Audiobooks, or you prefer to check out books that are like on a Kindle or like an iPad or something like that. I have tried, you guys. And sometimes I do audiobooks when I'm doing long drives and stuff, but I just love a physical book, and I love the smell of the book, and I love the whole thing. It's such a tactile and visceral experience. It's so fun to just dig into a book. Plus, you get to carry it around with you. It's awesome. Of course, if you're going on like a big vacation and you plan on doing a lot of reading, it's a little heavy to carry all these books. It takes up room in your luggage. Let's give the back a gander. Okay. The first book in the acclaimed New York Times best-selling trilogy, The Silo Saga, Wool, is the story of mankind clawing back for survival. The world outside has grown toxic, the view of it limited, talk of it forbidden. The remnants of humanity live underground in a single silo, but there are always those who hope, who dream. These are the dangerous people, the residents who infect others with their optimism. Their punishment is simple. They are given the very thing they want. They are allowed to go outside. After the previous sheriff leaves the silo. In a terrifying ritual, Juliet, a mechanic from down deep, is suddenly and inexplicably promoted to the head of law enforcement. With the newfound power, and with a very little regard for the custom she is supposed to abide, Juliet uncovers hints of a sinister conspiracy. Tugging this thread may uncover the truth, or it could kill every last human alive. I'm so excited. I gotta find out what happens. Anyways, so that's that one. The next one on my list is For Whom the Bell Tolls by Ernest Hemingway. I really enjoy the prose and the writing style of Ernest Hemingway. It's so raw and feels so honest and visceral, and I really like that. He's a bit intense. Other books that I've really enjoyed by him, like A Movable Feast or The Old Man and the Sea, are also really great and worth reading. A Movable Feast I really appreciated. It seemed to really resonate with me and a lot of the memories of my earlier days, especially when I lived in Montreal. For some reason it just struck a chord, and so I love Ernest Hemingway. I don't know much about this book, but I'm excited to dig into it. What a wild ride we're on, tapping all these books, you guys. I'm losing it right now. It is so interesting to me that different books, even paperback, can sound so differently when they're being tapped. Oh yeah, this one's got some good taps. Let's check out what it says on the back. In 1937, Ernest Hemingway traveled to Spain to cover the Civil War, there for the North American Newspaper Alliance. 3 years later, he completed the greatest novel to emerge from the good fight. In one of the foremost classics of war literature, For Whom the Bell Tolls tells of loyalty and courage, love and defeat, and the tragic death of an ideal. Robert Jordan, a young American in the International Brigades, is attached to an anti-fascist guerrilla unit in the mountains of Spain. In his portrayal of Jordan's love for the beautiful Maria and his superb account of a guerrilla leader's last stand, Hemingway creates a work at once rare and beautiful, strong and brutal, compassionate, moving and wise, greater in power, broader in scope, and more intensely emotional than any author's previous works. For Whom the Bell Tolls stands out as one of the best war novels ever written. Okay. I mean, that was a lot of adjectives, you guys. They really like this one. And you know what? I don't really read war novels. That's not like a thing that I've ever really done. So this will be an interesting kind of step outside of my normal. Okay, what's next? I'm so excited. The next we have something a little bit different. This is First Person Singular by Haruki Murakami, and this is an anthology of stories written by Murakami. One of my favorite authors ever is Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who wrote 100 Years of Solitude and and some other really important and wild pieces of literature. That's the one he won the Nobel Prize in Literature for. But one of the things that is interesting and engaging about him is this idea of magic realism. So like things that are real sounding, normal events and things like that, but with a hint of something supernatural or magical. And Murakami is also a member of this kind of like style of writing, where things are not quite as they seem, or something interesting is happening superimposed, or there might be some magical component to the story, but the story seems very normal and, like it could be happening to you or me. So, like, another one that I really liked by Murakami is the Wind-Up Bird Chronicles, but also After Dark, both really great. And he's also got another one for all the runners out there called What I Think About When I Talk About Running, or What I Talk About When I Talk About Running. I don't know. I can't remember. It's something like that. But anyways, it's great also about his experience with running. So this is essentially an anthology of a few different stories. So something like this I might kind of pepper in between some of the other books just to kind of get a taste for it. So I might finish one book, read a short story, move on to another book, come back to it, and dig into a short story. It's kind of a fun thing to do. Let's check out what it says on the back. Okay. These 8 stories, all told in the first person, showcase Haruki Murakami's reality-bending skill at their very finest. From memories of youth, meditations on music, and an adherent love of baseball, to dreamlike scenarios in imaginary jazz albums. Together, these tales challenge the boundary between the mind and the real world. Told ya. Here we encounter men analyzing tanka poems written by a former lover, experiencing the throes of Beatlemania, and having a beer with a talking monkey, and occasionally a narrator who may or may not be Murakami himself. Philosophical and mysterious, the stories in first-person singular all touch beautifully on love and solitude, childhood and memory, with the signature Murakami twist. Very exciting. Super excited to get into that one. The next one on the list is, it's called Lenny Bruce is Dead, and this is by Jonathan Goldstein. So the reason I went into this is because I'm familiar with Jonathan Goldstein's radio work and podcast work. He's got this really great show that was actually canceled but is now coming back. It's called Heavyweights. And on that show, basically, each week he helps someone solve some issue or confront someone or do something that has been weighing heavy on them. And it's great. It is like so beautiful and poetic and respectful and lovely, and they're great stories. He's a really funny guy, a great storyteller. So when I found out he wrote a book, I had to go for it. He's Canadian, I think from Montreal, and but lives and works in the States. He's been a contributor to like This American Life and projects like that. He used to do the Wiretap series on the CBC. So yeah, obviously I had to dig into his book. Let's see what the back says. Okay. Let's see. It doesn't have like a clear synopsis, but I'll read a couple of the reviews. A funny, sad, lyrical, and totally perverted examination of what happens to people when the culture cares too much about sex. If Philip Roth had written a Dennis Johnson novel, it would be Lenny Bruce is Dead. Okay, interesting. interesting. Simply stated, Jonathan Goldstein's voice is like no one else's. He is constantly surprising, simultaneously poetic and hilarious, an honest to God goodness artist. I have no idea what it's about. I don't know if it's good. It probably is. I really enjoy his stuff, and of course, gotta support. So I'm gonna be reading this at some point in the near future as well. Lenny Bruce is dead. Jonathan Goldstein. You should check out that podcast. It's very good. Next is Haldor Laxness's Independent People. This book was actually a gift to me from Mrs. Chillwave. It is the winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature. Pretty good. It's gotta be pretty good, am I right? To win a Nobel Prize, anyways. I've always had a soft spot for, like, Scandinavia and Iceland and Norway in that area, and Independent People is something that takes place in Iceland and is written by an Icelandic author. So what's it about? Let's find out. Okay. Alright, here we go. Having spent 18 years in humiliating servitude, Bjartur wants nothing more than to raise his flock, unbeholden to any man. But Bjartur's spirited daughter wants to live unbeholden to him. What ensues is a battle of wills that is, by turns, harsh and touching, elemental in its emotional intensity, and intimate in its homely detail. Vast in scope and deeply rewarding, Independent People is a masterpiece. This might have to be the next one, you guys. I don't know. A masterpiece. Nobel Prize. Hello. Very excited for this one. Very excited indeed. So that's on the list as well. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. The next book on the list is Barbarian Days, A Surfing Life by William Finnegan. And this is actually not only a New York Times bestseller, but also a Pulitzer Prize winner. What is with all these books winning awards? That's crazy. Excited to check out this one. I do really love surfing, and I don't get to do it very often because of where we live. Where I am in Canada, obviously we have access to the Great Lakes, and I have surfed on the Great Lakes a bunch as well. It's very fun, and you'd be surprised how big the swell can get in a lake, but of course, it's an adventure worth seeking. Our surf season is very short here, though. Of course, it only takes place in the coldest months, so you need a very thick wetsuit. It's still very fun. But let's see what it says on the back. Barbarian Days is William Finnegan's memoir of an obsession, a complex enchantment. Surfing only looks like a sport. To initiates, it's something else, a beautiful addiction, demanding course of study, a morally dangerous pastime, a way of life. Raised in California and Hawaii, Finnegan started surfing as a child, a bookish boy, then an excessively adventurous young man. He went to become a distinguished writer and war reporter. Barbarian Days takes us deep into unfamiliar worlds, some of them right under our noses. York and San Francisco, and some of them farther afield, from the picturesque simplicity of a Samoan fishing village to the ins and outs of the Indonesian black market. Throughout he serves, carrying readers with him in rides of harrowing, unprecedented lucidity. Wow, that sounds great. Barbarian Days is an old-school adventure story, an intellectual autobiography, a social history, a literary road movie, and an extraordinary exploration of the gradual mastering of an exciting, little understood art. Very excited to check that one out. Barbarian Days. Next we have something a little bit interesting. This is called Spiral into Horror. Uzumaki by I want to get this right, Junji Ito. It is a graphic novel. It looks like it's going to be an absolute wild ride. Now, I don't read a lot of graphic novels. Same with comics. I used to read comics a lot growing up, but I haven't really sunk my teeth back into it. But as a gift recently, I was given a couple things like Loki and the collected works of the Amazing Spider-Man comic books. So obviously I'm going to dig into those, right? I've heard very good things about this, and I'm extremely excited about it. Unbelievable. Let's see what it says. Okay. Kurusucho, a small fog-bound town on the coast of Japan, is cursed. According to Suichi Sato, the withdrawn boyfriend of teenager Kiri Koshima, their town is haunted not by a person or being, but a pattern. Uzumaki, the spiral, the hypnotic secret shape of the world. This bizarre masterpiece of horror manga is now available in a single volume. Fall into a whirlpool of terror. I plan to. Sounds scary and fun and engaging and awesome. And I apologize for my Japanese pronunciation. I'm working on it. Anyways, super excited to read this one. It's going to be very fun. Alright, this brings us to the last one on the list. This one's called The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. This one is also a gift from Mrs. Chillwave. So this book is a book on creativity, creating art, and productivity in that space, and about that journey and the importance of creativity. And I'm really excited to check this out. I love being creative. It, in my adult life, has been something that has been a new, fresh thing that I never really got to explore. My background is exclusively science-based, and everything is so logical and algorithmic and implemented and clear-cut and stepwise, and I think there is space to be creative in science, but like on the leading edge of science. And it's difficult, through the educational process to really find that. And even in my daily work, in my daily job, it's very heavily science-based, but it's so evidence-based and algorithmic that there is very little space to be creative. And that's where I found this channel to be such a fulfilling and wonderful process. And a big shout out to Mrs. Chillwave for this generous gift, and I can't wait to take it in and read it and explore that side a little bit further. It's something I'd like to lean into and nurture and make better and stronger, so I'm excited about that. Well, that's that, you guys. So thank you so much for joining for today's video. I really appreciate it. If you think any of these books are great and you think that I should read one of them, maybe you've read one, maybe one of them spoke to you, let me know, and that's the one I'll read next. Otherwise, if you have any book suggestions for me, love that. I am very open to that, so please do. I really find that helpful, and I love to know what you guys are reading, so let me know. Anyways, guys, we'll leave it there for today. Thank you so much for being here, and you know how we do. 60 days of ASMR. We're going to get you tomorrow. See ya.